You shouldn't love someone broken, she whispered. I don't, he said. I love the one who's rebuilding. Welcome to the Velvet Story, where emotion meets elegance, and every word carries a heartbeat. You are listening to Beneath the Mask, chapters 16 to 18, an emotional storm of secrets, bloodlines, and betrayal cloaked in silk. In this part of the saga, Milam uncovers truths hidden in vaults and memories. Yiran faces the tangled roots of his lineage. And a storm brews not just within Zoo Holdings, but within every relationship she's dared to trust. Love isn't soft here. It's dangerous. And every step forward comes with a price. So close the door, dim the lights, and listen closely. Some truths whisper louder in silence. Chapter 16, Roots and Shadows. The night was unusually quiet in the private wing of the hospital. Zoo Milam sat beside her brother's bed, softly running a wet cloth across his forehead. His eyes were still closed, his breathing steady but distant, as if he were trapped in a place she couldn't reach. Zhenghao, she whispered, her voice trembling, I'm getting closer. I'll fix this, I swear it. She hadn't cried in days, hadn't allowed herself that luxury. But tonight, after confronting Xinyu, after unraveling another thread of betrayal, the weight began pressing harder against her chest. A soft knock interrupted the silence. She turned, expecting a nurse. Instead, it was him. Qin Yiran. He didn't speak as he entered. Just offered a small, respectful nod and a thermos. Red bean soup, he said. Chef Li made it. She said you need warmth. Milam blinked, caught off guard. You're not obligated to do this, she said quietly, accepting it nonetheless. He sat on the bench against the far wall. Not too close, just present. I know, he replied. But I want to. They stayed in silence for a few minutes, the kind of silence that wasn't heavy, just gentle. Finally, Milam broke it. There's something about the past I've been trying to ignore, she murmured, not looking at him. But now, it's clawing its way back. Yiran tilted his head slightly. She pulled out the text she'd received. Look into the Liang acquisition. Your father didn't approve it. Someone forged his vote. He frowned. That acquisition was 3 years ago. Right before your father's first major health scare. Milam nodded. I remember. He was hospitalized briefly, and I was studying abroad. But when I came home, he said everything was under control. I didn't think to look deeper. Do you want me to investigate? Yiran offered softly. She shook her head. No, she said. This time, I want to do it myself. Flashback 22 years ago. A small village in northern Jiangsu. A bitter winter. Snow coating the roof of a worn, ancestral zoo courtyard. A young servant woman, pale, beautiful, eyes filled with sorrow, cradled a baby wrapped in red silk. She stood before the Zoo family matriarch, trembling. My lady, please, I beg you. I can't raise him alone. The matriarch's gaze was cold but unreadable. He is a Qin by blood, she said. Why should we raise another's child? Because he is also my blood, the woman cried. And your granddaughter's son. Silence. Then, with a nod, the matriarch relented. We will not give him the Zoo name. But we will protect him, from a distance. The baby's soft cries faded into the snowfall. Present day. Qin Yiran stared at the jade pendant in his hand, the one his mother left behind. The one passed to him by an uncle who'd sworn secrecy for decades. He knew now. He was more connected to Milam than either of them had realized. His mother was a Zoo. An illegitimate branch. Hidden. Silenced. And yet the blood ran the same. Did Milam know? He wasn't sure. And for the first time in years, Qin Yiran, the calculating CEO, the man who played markets like chess, felt uncertain. Would she hate him for keeping it from her? Would she feel betrayed? Would it break something they hadn't even fully begun? He sighed and leaned back in his chair, fingers pressing against his temples. His phone buzzed with a soft chime. From Zoo Milam. Thank you for the soup. And for staying. I noticed you fell asleep in the hallway. I left a blanket over you. You always give so much, it's okay to let someone give back. He read it twice. A slow, rare smile touched his lips. Sun Morning Zoo Holdings Archive Room. Dust motes danced in slants of morning light as Meelam sifted through decades of files. Her fingers moved quickly, her eyes sharp. She found the Liang acquisition folder, signed by Chairman Zhu Zemin. But something felt wrong. The stroke of the pen was off. The tail of the Z curled upward, her father's signature never curled. She pulled out older documents for comparison. Her heart pounded faster with each detail she confirmed. It wasn't his signature. It was forged. A post-it note fell from one of the folders. Be careful. Some snakes wear zoo badges. Her breath caught. Someone inside the family. Suddenly, the door creaked. Meelam tensed and turned. But it was Keen Yiran again. You left your phone at the hospital, he said, walking toward her. She took it, but didn't speak right away. Then she asked the question she hadn't planned to yet. Yiran, your mother, do you know anything about her connection to the Zhu family? He froze, just for a second, and that second was enough. You knew, she whispered. Didn't you? He exhaled slowly. Not until recently, and I wasn't sure how to tell you. Her expression was unreadable. She was your cousin? She asked. He shook his head. More distant. Illegitimate bloodline. But yes, she was a Zhu. Your grandfather's affair. Buried to protect reputation. Meelam leaned against the wall, stunned. So all this time, he stepped closer. Meelam, I didn't know when we met. When I helped you, I wasn't playing some twisted family game. I know, she said softly, interrupting him. He blinked. I know, she repeated, firmer now. Because if you were lying, you wouldn't be looking at me like that. Their eyes locked. Tension simmered, not the sharp tension of enemies, but the aching vulnerability of people who had survived too much. I'm scared, she confessed. Of trusting again. Of losing again. I know, he whispered. But I'll be here, every step. And slowly, as though gravity was no longer hers to fight. She let herself lean just a little closer. End of chapter 16. Chapter 17, Inked in Blood. A storm rolled in over the city, not of rain, but of whispers. By midday, the Zoo Holdings building was alive with unease. A memo had circulated that morning, a mandatory board meeting at 3 p.m., called not by Meelam, but by one of the elders. Mr. Zhu Liang, her grandfather's younger brother, and once a respected strategist behind the scenes, was known for being traditional, quiet, and neutral. Until now. Office Building Zhu Holdings Boardroom, 2 p.m. Meelam walked in, calm but alert, her cream suit crisp, her hair pinned high. Keen Yiran entered 2 minutes later, unannounced, and stood by the wall, hands clasped behind his back. Whispers surged. She brought him? Isn't he with the Keen group? Weren't they rivals? Mr. Zhu Liang cleared his throat. Before we begin, he said, lifting a heavy manila envelope, there is something all of you should see. He turned to Meelam, his voice grave. This was left in my possession 3 years ago by your mother. I was instructed to release it only if something ever happened to the family. Meelam's breath caught. She knew something, Mr. Liang continued. She feared someone within our circle. She couldn't act, not directly, but she left a path. He slid the envelope across the long table. With trembling hands, Meelam opened it. Inside, a neatly folded letter, dated precisely 1 week before the accident. My dearest Meelam, if you are reading this, something has gone wrong. Trust no one, not even those with your blood. Your father was being threatened. And the Liang acquisition was a trap. Someone wanted control, and they were willing to hurt anyone who stood in the way. Protect the family. And if you find Keen Yiran near you, trust him. I can't explain everything here, but one day, you'll understand why our families are bound deeper than war. Your mother, Zhu Jiahui. Tears welled in Meelam's eyes before she could stop them. The room fell utterly silent. She lowered the letter slowly. Her voice, when it came, was quiet, yet every syllable struck like thunder. My mother suspected someone on this board. The silence turned to stone. And I will find them. Mantelpiece clock. That evening, hospital corridor. Meelam sat quietly by the window in the long corridor, her fingers wrapped around a lukewarm coffee cup. Her eyes were tired, but her mind was blazing. Across from her, Keen Iran leaned against the wall, watching her. "You look like her," he said softly. Meelam turned. "My mother?" He nodded. Kind eyes, sharp mind, terrifying when she wants to be. A faint laugh escaped her, barely more than a breath. She used to say that anger should be worn like red lipstick, rare, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. He smiled. "I think you're doing her proud." She looked down. "I hope so." After a pause, he walked toward her and held out a folded document. "What's this?" "My shares," he said simply. 10% of Keen Global. I'm transferring them into a trust, under your name. No strings. Her mouth fell open. "Why would you?" "Because you're fighting a war alone," he said, stepping closer. "And this gives you leverage. Power. Safety." She shook her head slowly. "I can't accept that." "You are not accepting me, Meelam," he said gently. "You are accepting armor." She stared at him, searching for the catch, the trap. There was none. "You once said you didn't need me to love you," she whispered. "I didn't," he replied. "But I still fell." Something cracked in her chest. She blinked hard, her voice unsteady. "You shouldn't love someone broken." "I don't," he said softly. "I love the one who's rebuilding." Stethoscope. That night, patient room. Zhenghao stirred faintly in his bed, fingers twitching beneath the blanket. Meelam leaned close, brushing his hand. "Gege, we're okay. Mama and Baba, they're still with us. I'm still fighting." She reached into her bag and pulled out the small hummingbird music box her mother had once cherished. Its tune was soft, delicate, like hope whispered through a storm. And then, she began to sing. A lullaby her mother used to hum to her. Keen Iran stood just outside the doorway, frozen. He hadn't meant to eavesdrop. He'd only come to check on her. But the moment he heard her voice, raw, trembling, achingly beautiful, something shifted in him again. She wasn't fire anymore. She was light. And somehow, that was more dangerous. Because fire burns fast. But light stays. End of chapter 17. Chapter 18, A Vault of Secrets. The air outside the hospital had the sharp edge of an approaching storm, a warning, almost. As if the world itself knew that something was about to shift. Zhu Meelam stood beside the open trunk of her car, her hands trembling slightly as she reread the anonymous message on her phone. "If you want answers, go to your father's vault. He left more than money behind." Her stomach twisted. This number had never messaged before. No name, no trace. But the vault, it was real. One only a handful even knew existed, tucked away in her father's private estate outside the city, sealed by biometric access. She glanced up at Keen Iran. "You don't have to come." "I know," he said calmly, walking around to the passenger side. "I want to." Zhu Zamin's private estate, evening. The estate was a haunting place now. Once full of life, it had been shuttered since the accident. Meelam hadn't stepped foot inside since the day after the funeral that never came, the day they learned her parents wouldn't wake. Dust lay over the furniture like snow. The lights flickered as the ancient power grid kicked in. They moved quickly through the main study, down a hidden hall behind a sliding bookshelf. At the end of it, a thick metal-walled door with a biometric scanner. She placed her hand against the reader. A soft beep, then a click. The door opened. Inside was a climate-controlled chamber with shelves of neatly labeled files, black velvet boxes, and old tapes. Meelam froze. There were photos taped to the back wall. Dozens of them. Copies of documents, reports, transaction sheets. Most were marked with red X's. But one name, Zhu Wengo, had been circled. She inhaled sharply. "That's my uncle, my father's cousin. He always stayed close to the family. But he never had a title." Keen Iran scanned the files quickly. Because he didn't want one. He was working from the shadows. These documents, He was funneling money through shell companies and using your father's name to approve fake investments. Neelam found a tape recorder. Her hands trembled as she pressed play. If anything happens to me, it's Zhu Wengo. He's been trying to fracture the board. I caught him forging my vote on the Liang deal. He begged me to let it go, but I won't. Neelam, if you ever find this, protect your mother and brother. Protect the company. And never trust a man who calls your daughter when it benefits him. Her knees nearly gave out. Yiran caught her. I should have known, she whispered. He was always there, always kind. My mother called him a snake once. I thought she was being dramatic. Snakes don't hiss until they're ready to bite, Yiran murmured. She stood straighter. We can use this. He nodded. Not yet. If we push too early, he'll bury deeper. Let's bleed him out slowly. Make him desperate. There was something terrifying in her voice when she replied. Then let's begin. Later that night, hospital wing. Keen Yiran walked Neelam back to the hospital wing where her brother lay still, and her parents slept beneath the dull hum of machines. She set a fresh fruit tray beside her mother's bed, smoothing the blanket with delicate care. You are like a storm, Yiran said softly behind her. She looked back at him, surprise. A storm? Quiet, until you're not. And then no one escapes untouched. A tired smile touched her lips. That's poetic for someone who used to avoid me like I was contagious. I was avoiding myself, he said simply. And maybe, hoping you wouldn't look too closely. She turned, facing him fully now. Why? Because I fall fast, he said, voice low. But I don't fall easy. Their eyes locked, and something settled between them, not the urgency of lust, or the ache of grief, but something gentler, like the first warmth after winter. Yiran, she whispered, why are you still here? Because no one ever stayed for me, he replied. Her breath caught. He stepped closer. I don't need you to fix me, Neelam. I just need you to let me stand beside you. For the first time in days, something in her chest didn't feel so broken. She stepped forward, resting her forehead briefly against his. And there, in that fragile, fleeting space between two warriors, the silence became a promise. Midnight elsewhere in the city. In a dimly lit study, Zhu Wengo slammed a glass down on the desk. She's getting too close, he muttered. A shadowed figure across from him remained calm. You should have finished the job. I thought the accident was enough. Well, it wasn't. Wengo wiped his face. If she goes public with any of this, she won't. Not if we hit her where it hurts next. A long pause. Wenguo's eyes narrowed. You mean her brother? No, the figure said. I mean the keen boy. End of chapter 18. Because no one ever stayed for me, he said. She stepped forward, resting her forehead against his, and in that fragile silence, a promise was made. And that was chapters 16, 17, and 18 of Beneath the Mask. Where every whisper hides a war, and every touch could be the last before betrayal. If this story stirred something in you, a chill, a tear, a thrill, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Velvet Story for more hauntingly beautiful storytelling every week. Your next escape begins with the next chapter. Until then, trust no mask. Love only what endures beneath it.